Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see the screen?
Yes. Yes, sister.
Yeah. So today's topic, the treasure. I cannot make it. Oh, okay. Okay, the treasure of your rescue from darkness. Now, which darkness? This is, we all know it is spiritual darkness. Because if we see Genesis 1 to 5, God Himself created that night. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the. You can read the verses. So there was the God Himself created the darkness. So it is interesting that darkness came from light, before light. Sorry. And when God created the earth, it was formless, void, and dark. And the next step was for God created the earth. The next step was for God to put life into order. To accomplish that, He created light to counterbalance the darkness. Now we need both day and night, light and dark, for the planet to function in God's design. So darkness itself was not evil. But metaphorically, if you see, it painted a picture as the dwelling place of evil. Like always, when we compare evil with darkness or Satan and darkness, when we say darkness, always this evil thing or sin or the trespasses, all those negative things come into our mind, and it is evil lurked in the shadows. So evil disguised his face, waited in darkness, and festered away from the light. So, what is spiritual darkness? Spiritual darkness was often described in terms of blindness, being unable or unwilling to truly see God and all his intentions. So, Isaiah consistently spoke in terms of darkness, blindness, light, and sight. So, in today's topic, Ephesians 2, we see that we learn about God's way of reconciliation. So, first verse says, "And you he made alive who were dead in trespasses and sins." So, and you he made alive. So, Paul wrote to believers who were made alive by God's work. So, Paul ended the previous chapter. We see that by considering that the ultimate example of God's power was the resurrection of Jesus. And now here Paul considers what the implications of that Jesus' resurrection power are for our life. So who were dead in trespasses and sins. So though we are now alive, we must never forget where we came from. We were dead in trespasses and sins. In trespasses and sins, the idea behind the word trespasses is that we have crossed a line, challenging God's boundaries. And the idea behind the word sins is that we have missed the mark of the perfect standards of God. In second and third was the life of death, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we all once conducted ourselves in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, just as the others. So, who is the prince of the power of the air? He's still very much active among those in rebellion against God, the sons of disobedience. So, who is talking about Satan? So, imagine a dead man in the coffin. So, as long as he is dead, he will feel nice. He will not feel anything, rather. But once, if he comes alive, you can imagine the suffocation and discomfort he will feel in that coffin. So it's the similar way when we were spiritually dead, we felt comfortable in trespasses and sins. But having come to new life, we feel we must escape that coffin, so and leave it behind. So if we think that dead and trespasses and since says everything about man's lost condition, we are wrong, because the Bible uses many different pictures to describe the state of the unsaved man, or you can say mankind, saying he is blind. So 2 Corinthians 4:3 and 4 says, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. You can see the difference. The God of this age, the G is small, and the image of God, that G is capital. So, second is a slave to sin. So, Romans 6:17 says, thank God once you were slaves of sin, but now you wholeheartedly obey this teaching we have given you. Then a lover of darkness, John 3:19-20. And this is the judgment: the light has come into the world, and people love the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. Then another aspect is he's sick. When Jesus heard this, he said to them, those who are healthy have no, in Mark 2:17. When Jesus heard this, he said to them, those who are healthy have no need of a physician, but only those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners who recognize their sin and humbly seek forgiveness. This is from the Amplified Bible. So we understand the meaning of exact what Jesus is saying. Then they are lost. Luke 15, the parable of the lost sheep, we all know. Then the other thing is an alien, a stranger, a foreigner. That is what Ephesians 2:12 and 2:19 talk about it. Then Ephesians 2:3 says, a child of wrath. All of us used to live that way, following the passionate desires and inclinations of our sinful nature. By our very nature, we were subject to God's anger just like everyone else. And the last one is Colossians 1:13, under the power of darkness. Darkness is spiritual darkness. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of His love, in whom we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of sins. So, all these are the aspects of dead in trespasses and sins. So now the verse says, who now works in the sons of disobedience? In sin, we respond to Satan's guidance. And the prince of the power of the air. So you can imagine this unique title for Satan speaks of his authority, prince, because he's called prince, and his realm is the air, a way of referring to Satan's environment. Satan is not the ultimate ruler, but he is a prince in the sense that evil men set him up for their sovereign, and they think that he is the sovereign and are wholly at his obedience. So the next part is, we all once conducted ourselves in the lusts of our flesh. We once were among the sons of disobedience, proven by our conduct. We embrace the lusts of the flesh, which are the desires of human nature. And always lusts of flesh, or living in flesh, is described in, always it is referred in New Testament. And the converts are to be reminded what they have been delivered from, as well as what they have been lifted into. They must be led to look down again into the pit, into the grave, from which grace called them out and set them free. And they were by nature children of wrath. That is the last part of the verse. Because of our surrender to the old man, the world, and the devil, we were by nature children of wrath. We rightfully deserved God's wrath, and deserved it because of who we were by our heritage, by our human nature. We will come to the fourth verse, the process of personal reconciliation to God. and God's motive in reconciliation. But God, who is rich in mercy because of his great love with which he loved us. But God, because of his great love, with but and because. You can see both the words. Paul explained God's reason behind reconciling man to himself, and these reasons are found totally in God. The reasons are his rich mercy and his great love, which he focuses on us. So, behind the good news of God's salvation offered in Jesus is the fact that his mercy and love is extended to us. God's love is so great that it extends even to the unlovely or to the children of wrath mentioned in the previous verse. So they also have, God is giving them a second chance, you can say, to come to him, and he will love him to the same extent as he loves his children. We go to the next fifth to seventh verse. The past, present, and future of God's work of individual reconciliation. Even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up together, and made us sit together in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us in Christ Jesus. So when we were dead, this is when God started loving us. He did not wait until we were lovable. So he loved us even when we were dead in trespasses. He who hears my word and believes in him who sent me has passed from death into life, says John 5:24. So by grace we have been saved. Paul is saying here that this is the work of God's grace, in no way involving man's merit. It is not our merit. Our salvation, our rescue from spiritual death is God's work done for the undeserving. So it is, you always have to give thanks to God because we are saved by his grace and his mercy. So our citizenship is in heaven, as says Philippians 3:20. Now, in the ages to come, he might show the exceeding riches of his grace. So, in the future, God will continue to show the exceeding riches of his grace to us, and God will never stop dealing with us on the basis of grace, and will forever continue to unfold its riches to us through the eternity. So, we know God is eternal. We move to the reconciliation of Jews and Gentiles in Jesus. Uh, okay, I will talk on this first, then we can go to the discussion. Mm, so in Ephesians 11 and 12, Ephesians 2, 11 and 12, the need for the reconciliation of Gentiles and Jews. Therefore, remember that you, once Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision made in the flesh by hands, that at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. Now, God's work of reconciliation is not only between God and the individual, but through it, though it must begin there, but it is also between groups of people that are at odds, such as Jews and Gentiles were in the days of Paul. So, such as we in this time of age. Now, who are called uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision. Now, Gentiles were in a desperate place, being aliens, strangers, having no hope, and being without God. This shows that they were not only spiritually dead, but they also did not have the access to God that the Jews enjoyed. So, before coming to Jesus, Gentiles were Christless, stateless, friendless, hopeless, and godless. What is the repercussion of having no hope or without God in the world? Like some people believe in God, but they believe He is in heaven and has nothing to do with this world. In that way, a person can still believe in God and be without God in the world. So again, he is godless. And when we say without Christ, to be without Christ means to be without spiritual blessings, without light of God, without peace, without rest, without safety, without hope. So you can say without everything. Like if you don't have Christ, you are as good as dead. You are dead. And now we will go to the discussion. What is true about unbelievers? We can discuss as said in 2 and 2 uh, uh, 12, which I have already given the answers. And did you remember what it was like when you were in spiritual darkness like that? Do you know someone still in darkness like that? So, Sister Jyoti, if you can break us in the room.
Yeah. So we will do these two questions in the group,
Yeah,
and we will discuss, and we will have around 15 minutes for this discussion. Only two questions, so maybe we will take only 10 minutes.
yeah.
Okay. So 5 minutes each for one, and I'll break into the group, open the rooms.
You have taken in for the grace and the saved. So starts from the faith part, no?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Sure.
So where is our question now?
Okay. Now our question.
Yeah,
What is true about unbelievers?
about unbelievers that we already saw that